Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. I'm coming to you from the Pod Shack outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. My name is Randy, and with me is Tomko, but not just any Tomko. This is Andy Warhol's Tomko.
Sorry, I was busy looking for wergins.
Listen, you can't look for wergins. You are a married man, first of all.
Well, no, just to spot them.
Oh, okay, I see. Is that like
gutter, Randy?
Is that like a bird watching game, but like in the English sense of the word birds? Looking for birds?
Yes, but with a very oddly placed, thick German accent.
Okay, yeah. It is very oddly placed. Yeah. But Andy Warhol's Tomko, if you don't know what Andy Warhol Tomko looks like, he looks just like a soup can,
Except there's, 4 portraits of me side by side in multiple colors.
Yeah, and he's just a cherubic, itty bitty little baby Campbell soup boy. I could just pinch those cheeks. I tell you what. Oh man, today we are covering Flesh for Frankenstein, aka Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, and Blood for Dracula, aka Andy Warhol's Dracula. But before we do that, Tomko, I am so mad that I can hardly see straight. Do you know why? Shit. Do you know why?
I have a feeling I'm going to find out.
This is a scam of the highest order. I could not believe my eyes when I read this.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, eyes, you got to be lying to me. What are you doing to me right now? So several years ago, I discovered that there was this movie made in the 90s, and I think I talked about it on this program before, but I'm going to bring it up again. And it seemed to be a mid-90s little comedy thing, and it took place like mainly over the phone with phone calls and whatnot. And I'm like, that seems interesting. I want to track it down. I could not track it down. I could not. It took me forever to track it down, Tomko. I can't tell you how many untold hours it took me to finally find this thing. And in between that time, I even forgot the name of the movie. So I'm trying to Google like phone movie 90s indie and nothing's coming up, right? And I was so frustrated. Finally, somehow I stumbled upon the name of the movie, Denise Calls Up, and I finally months later found it on the World Wide Web, and I downloaded it. And I still haven't watched it. This was like 2 years ago, goddammit.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Yes. But here's the part that really, oh boy, my goat is so gotten right now. I saw a little blurb today on that twitter.com. It's coming out on Blu-ray next month. I'm like, son of a bitch.
You've been holding on to this thing for 2 years waiting to watch it.
Well,
now here it is in a convenient, pristine quality format.
Yes, and it took me 4 years before that to finally find it anywhere in the world, and here it is in one tidy package. Here you go.
Fucking pricks.
You people out there are so spoiled. You get everything handed to you on a silver platter. Now you can watch Denise Calls Up whenever you so choose. You wake up and you're like, I could watch Denise Calls Up. You just order it, and it's there the next day. It's ridiculous.
Spoiled. That's what we are.
But I still haven't watched Denise Calls Up. I may never watch Denise Calls Up because I'm so upset.
As I say, out of principle, I think you should delete it.
I probably should. I'm like, it's not to be. It is not to be.
No, you need to watch it in that grainy 10th generation VHS film quality.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I needed it to have a bunch of tracking lines I needed it to have some scratches.
Warped color.
I need it to be
mono sound.
missing the topless Phoebe Cates scene. That's a different movie. I'm sorry. My mind's all over the place. My mind is all over the place, Tom Code, because we watched Flesh for Frankenstein and Blood for Dracula.
Oh, did we?
Oh, did we? So here's the deal. Tomko knows this, but you, dear listener, do not. I've been suffering all week from a tooth infection. Lots of pain, lots of suffering, lots of sleeping. And, you know, my duty to this podcast knows no bounds. I was soldiering on. I mean, what better way to numb the mind and ease the body than a shot of pop cultural Novocaine straight to the medulla oblongata? That's what I say.
Have to admit, I was wondering if you're going to be mushmouth tonight.
Well, I am not. I'm very eloquent, as you can see.
You are.
I did not stutter when I said medulla oblongata. I could have.
The enunciation is admirable, sir.
I am not Scott Stapp of Creed. I will enunciate my words. And, you know, the shot that I was given of Novocaine was this Flesh for Frankenstein, and it was a sleazy spoonful of softcore smut. And I tell you, this could have gone one of two ways, Tomko. It could have been instant relief, or it could have been more painful than a massive tooth infection and swollen face.
Uh-oh. What side of the coin landed?
Well, there was a swollen something in any case when it comes to these films. A swollen libido. Am I right?
Oh, no, you're not.
No, you're not. These films are so horny, but not in a sexy way at all. Tomko described these to me in a funny way as, what did you say? Universal?
The skinimax version of the Universal Monsters.
Which I laughed at. I'm like, that's accurate. However, I think there's an asterisk next to that because skinimax movies were usually kind of sexy and provocative, and these are just...
There's nothing titillating about these movies.
There's nothing sexy about these.
Unless you like some German Aryan lady sucking on the armpit of a dude from Brooklyn. Which, I mean, everybody's got a kink, okay.
Everyone's got a kink.
But it's not my thing.
Not necessarily mine either. Oof, this movie, the New York Times in their review said, quote, nowadays, flash in your hash can be a tribute to the filmmaker, just as belching was said to compliment the hosts of ancient China. While one suspects that the tales about Upchuck at The Exorcist were eagerly exaggerated, Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, written and directed by Paul Morrissey, almost begs the gorge to rise. Hence, those with iron guts may rank as Philistines, unable to respond to the call of art.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
That sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, these both were made to offend. Can we agree on that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And at least for Flesh for Frankenstein, I wasn't offended in the least. I was entertained, I have to admit. But there was nothing titillating. There was nothing shocking. Yeah, I guess I could just say it is what it is. Now, had you heard of these movies prior to me suggesting them?
I had heard of Flesh for Frankenstein because Vinegar Syndrome just released it on 4K. Mm-hmm. So I was aware, but not necessarily. I had heard Andy Warhol's Frankenstein. I'm not sure I had heard of Andy Warhol's Dracula. So I was aware they existed. I never saw them or even knew what they were about. And I barely knew who Andy Warhol is. For the longest time when I was younger, I thought he literally invented Campbell's soup. I did. And I was wrong. I was wrong. So, you know, Andy Warhol was a quote unquote great artist, and he was involved in all sorts of experimental artistic endeavors. Including like art called cow wallpaper and piss paintings, which were paintings that involved the use of copper paint and then oxidized with someone pissing right on them. That's like literally beating critics to the punch. If someone's going to figuratively piss all over your work, you might as well literally piss all over it first, right?
And you know what? You may as well make some money off of it.
You might as well make a cool million off it. He also dabbled in the film world. He had a movie called Blowjob, which is about, do you know what that movie's about?
I have a feeling it's about a French philosophy student.
He might have been, but said French philosophy student was getting a blowjob the whole movie, and the camera was just focused on his face as he got this movie, or he got this BJ.
Damn, 90 minutes? What kind of runtime are we thinking of here?
45 minutes.
God damn!
Well, I mean, that's an endurance test, isn't it?
For everyone involved, literally.
Yes, it's not
that poor woman's jaw.
Yeah, I mean, he also did a movie in 1964 called Empire, which was nothing but 8 hours of footage of the Empire State Building during dusk time.
Because art.
He made a fan fiction film called Batman Dracula in 1964, which is Batman and Dracula.
Which actually is a very important, pretty much lost film.
Yep.
Culturally speaking.
Yeah, it was only shown at his some of his art showings, was it not?
And private parties, including at the Playboy Mansion, if I'm remembering correctly.
You would think that this exists somewhere.
You'd think so, but nobody can find the damn thing. Just like little frames, snippets, stills. That's it.
Do you think if somebody found this miraculously, like somebody finds a Doctor Who in a basement, a lost Doctor Who in a basement, do you think the WB would allow this to be released to the general public somehow?
Ooh, probably not, but they kind of should.
I guess it depends how sexy it is, right?
That's true, but just from a historical standpoint, we would not have Batman without that little movie. I am convinced of that, because without that movie, you would not have William Dozier at the Playboy Mansion watching it, having the idea of a live action campy Batman, which, let's face it, saved that character from cancellation.
Look at you. You're full of factoids. I didn't know that he was in attendance and saw this.
He absolutely was. Without Andy Warhol, you would not have the Adam West Batman. Without the Adam West Batman, you wouldn't have anything else.
Yeah, you might not even have Batman, right?
Exactly.
Huh.
So it deserves its place.
In 1965, Warhol also did a movie called Vinyl, which is actually an adaptation of the novel A Clockwork Orange.
Really?
Yeah, I want to track that one down.
Is it available, or is it one of those lost movies?
From the little I saw, it's available somewhere. I don't know where, but I'm going to do some digging and try to find it.
I would watch the fuck out of that.
Yeah. So yeah, Andy Warhol, he made provocative, weird art. I don't know. I feel like Shia LaBeouf a few years ago tried to do some kind of Andy Warhol-esque performance arts.
And failed miserably.
He was so famous and influential and a legit celebrity, which few quote-unquote artists can even claim to be, that he was almost assassinated.
I remember hearing about that. I don't know a lot about the details.
I think it was just one of his people in the factory, which was Warhol's factory was this place where he gathered a diverse group of artistic types together, and he dubbed them superstars long before WWE tried to trademark that term. And I think one of those people was disgruntled in some way, shape, or form and tried to take him out, but was unsuccessful. However, after he did that, after that assassination attempt, he kind of became more reclusive, and this included the film work. It may have his names on these movies, Andy Warhol's, but he turned over.
He's not involved.
Not in any way, shape, or form, really. I don't think he turned.
No. And we're going to discover that that's kind of his MO when it comes to multimedia projects. Because you've heard of Lou Reed, right?
Oh, yeah.
And some little band he was in called the Velvet Underground.
Yeah, and they were part of Warhol's factory.
Yeah, he was credited as being the producer on what is inarguably a landmark album, which was their debut, the Velvet Underground and Nico. The problem is that he wasn't even in the studio, let alone the producer.
Yeah. Yeah, he was almost a brand name, like
pretty much, yeah, like Walt Disney.
Or Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Tom Clancy's long been gone, but his name's on video games and novels, and it's like a brand. It sells product.
Honestly, I can't believe the Warhol estate hasn't done that.
I'm shocked by that as well.
Yeah.
You would, I don't know, maybe they have more integrity than you would think.
Oh, come on. Are you saying that Warhol is better than Tom Clancy, sir?
No, not at all. He painted soup cans, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
I mean, fame is weird, isn't it? People get famous for the weirdest shit. Everyone that makes fun of people for making millions playing video games on YouTube or 90 seconds of TikToks, just remember, this dude got famous for painting soup cans. So,
in Maryland.
Okay. Point taken.
That's kind of a famous picture.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I mean, he started his career with Campbell's soup, and it kind of, I'm really on the Campbell's, whatever. I'll get off it. I know you people are hearing about soup, or you're getting really super hungry, but
I could go for some chicken noodle now.
Yeah. Needless to say, these two movies are not, they're, oh God, I almost said mainstream, but they're not. I don't know how to describe them.
I would say they're definitely grindhouse. Would we agree on that?
Oh yeah, the aesthetic is super grimy.
But they were trying to be campy. These movies weren't meant to be taken seriously in any way. At least that's the way I'm interpreting them.
Yeah, especially Blood for Dracula. I almost thought of that as like a Batman 66, but for Dracula.
Yeah, they're borderline comedy.
Yeah, and I mean, you see the jokes, and sometimes they land. Sometimes they don't.
They really don't.
Yes.
Where it's like, wow, I'm actually offended.
And then you have the weirdest sexual perversion ever. More so in Flesh for Frankenstein, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of goes with the title, I would think.
Yeah, so Flesh for Frankenstein is about a version of Dr. Frankenstein, Baron von Frankenstein, played by Udo Kier, who, geez.
Oh, he is a force of nature in these movies.
You know, when I was a kid, like in 4th grade, I would periodically and regularly have dreams in which, I'm not even making this up, I was trapped inside a room made of pizza and I had to eat my way out of that room.
Okay.
That's exactly what he does in every scene of this movie. He treats it like pizza and eats the fuck out of it.
Fuck out of the scenery.
Oh my God.
Yes. And you know what? I don't think I would want it any other way in these movies.
No.
Any other film, it would be out of place, but in these movies, it fits like a goddamn glove.
He is very Tommy Wiseau-esque in the room.
Yes. It's even the accent and the cadence of his delivery is very Wiseau.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing though. He's had about 275 acting credits to his name, and he's still active.
Including some major mainstream movies.
Yeah, ironically enough, he played an elder vampire in 1998's Blade.
Go figure.
Yeah, and he's active recently. He was just in a released movie called Swan Song. So,
good for him.
I mean, yeah, 275 acting credits. That's nothing to sneeze at.
No, dude's making a living. Good for him.
Yeah. So it's about him, and he's married to his sister wife. And
you're not talking about polygamy, are you?
I am not at all. It's his sister and his wife, which confused me at first. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't hear that right.
Wait a second, I can understand the whole chopping up human beings thing and stitching them together, but dude, that's your sister.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, old Baron V. Frank wants to create the perfect Serbian race.
Little Nazi-esque,
yeah. And he's going to do this by cobbling together some pieces from here and there and making a Frankenstein, as you do.
Yeah.
He's already created one male Frankenstein, and he's got this.
No. He has created a female Frankenstein.
Yeah, but didn't he have a male one that didn't work?
Mostly assembled. All he needed to do was find a head with the perfect Serbian nose, who idealize the descendants of the Serbian people from the Golden Greeks.
That's right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not going to lie. With my job, I have some spare time. I did a little bit of research on these movies. Apparently, with all the wars and the ethnic cleansing in that area, there is no such thing as a true Serbian.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
That's a factoid. Man, look at this historical accuracy from Tomko. So his plan is to find the most libidinous person he can find to mate and reproduce with his sexy bride of Frankenstein. And he thinks the best way to do that is to go to a local brothel. And
from that standpoint, kind of makes sense.
He watches two men enter. One of them is Nicholas, who is like a raging nympho. He wants all the sex. And this was
not only that, but he is a current employee on his estate who was caught boning like a milkmaid by his wife.
Right. And this guy was played by Joe Dallesandro. Joe Dallesandro, believe it or not.
Not a famous name, kind of a famous body.
But also, well, for one thing, Tomko, he was popular enough in the underground to cross over into the popular culture, and he was on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine in 1971.
Well, not only that, but he was on the cover of the Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers. Are you familiar with that album cover?
Yep, his big bulbous crotch was right there.
Yes. Owner of arguably the most famous crotch in rock and roll.
Joe Dallesandro.
Not gonna lie, kind of jealous.
Of his placement on a Rolling Stone album, or...
Yes.
Okay, just so we're clear. So he stakes out this brothel. Well, Joe Dallesandro had brought along his friend to have a great time, you know? His friend's completely uninterested in sex. He's borderline asexual, maybe. He's like, that's cool, dude. Just, why don't you just sit there and watch me or something? And,
okay. Everybody's got a kink.
I mean, I used to go over to my friend's house and watch him play video games. This was just the...
Okay.
This was just the 18th century version of that.
A different Konami code.
Yeah, definitely up, down. There was some extra lives and some, some button manipulation, you know. I just think, you know, that's not how I would want to spend my time, but whatever.
It was the 1920s, dude.
By a quirky happenstance, the two prostitutes ran out of the brothel, and the asexual friend runs out after them, and Baron Frankenstein thinks, well, look at this guy. He's got two women. He's been in there all night. That's our guy.
Okay, from an outsider's point of view, I might think that dude has something going on.
Yep. So, the Baron conks him over the head, and one of the best scenes that made me laugh so hard, cuts off his head with these like claw thingies.
Yeah, garden shears.
Yeah, yes, and the special effects in this, his eyes were even moving and stuff.
You're skipping over the best part.
Oh,
The body was still going. The body was still wanting to cling to life, and there's Dr. Frankenstein's faithful servant Otto coming to the rescue by gently tapping him on the shoulder with a club.
yeah. Yeah.
Because let's face it, how else are you supposed to knock out a headless corpse?
Yeah. I mean, so Nick was drunk the whole time. He didn't even realize his friend was getting his head cut off. He passed out, woke up with a headless friend next to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, what is this?" I've had some drunken WTF moments in my lifetime, but nothing quite like that.
And I've never reacted to those drunken WTF moments so nonchalantly.
You're right. Like, oh, damn, that sucks.
Well, okay, I guess I better get a shovel.
Unfortunately, Tomko, they never made a sequel to that Ashton Kutcher, Sean William Scott joint called Dude, Where's Your Head? Because that was a missed opportunity.
Oh, there's still time.
I'm inspired by this movie to make that happen. And then we're head first into the plot after that. I'm not going to... There's a lot of comedic ridiculousness in this, and I gotta think it's intentional, most of it, right?
These are the people that inspired the 1966 Batman show. Of course, it's intentional.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is. Well, I mean, the good Baron does not really. He kind of turns his nose at sex, except. He does like to have sex with his female Frankenstein creation.
But only when he's holding her internal organs.
Yes. Yeah. As he says, to know death, Otto, you have to fuck life.
In the gallbladder.
In the gallbladder, yes.
Which... I've had my gallbladder out. I know exactly where it is because of where the scars on my torso are.
Uh-huh.
His thrusts were not aimed anywhere near the gallbladder.
See, factoid Tomko coming through in a pinch here. Did the Mrs. Tomko ever try to toy with your incision there and try to, you know?
Oh, no. She let it heal before she did anything.
Okay, that's fair.
We're decent Christian folk here.
I got it. Ironically enough, or sadly enough, or unfortunately enough, maybe this was some sick joke aimed at Andy Warhol, but he had regular gallbladder problems in his life and died post gallbladder surgery from an irregular heartbeat.
No shit.
Yeah, so this was unfortunate, actually, that line. Also ridiculous, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that is probably the most infamous line from this movie, I would think.
When this movie was released, it was rated X, which is kind of like our NC-17 now. And it got me thinking, I've heard of Triple X, that's Vin Diesel, you know, but have you ever heard of Double X? Are there Double X movies? Is that like the movie version of Getting to Third?
No. From what I understand, Triple X is not an MPAA rating as much as it's a marketing ploy.
Oh.
Because if a regular X is naughty, just imagine what Triple X is.
Well, I know it's naughty. I saw it in all the cartoons with those brown jugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think there's a double X. I think I think it's just kind of one of those things that's lost to history, sir.
I see. Well, this movie has one of the most memorable and hilarious and prolonged death scenes I've ever seen.
Oh.
And it's a beauty to see.
Yes. We're at this point, the character played by Joe Dallesandro is well aware that Frankenstein's new house servant is walking around with his friend's head. Again, totally nonchalant about it, but he decided that, you know what? I'm going to free what's left of my friend. He found his way into the castle. Into the laboratory.
But also in the
Mayhem
meantime,
ensues.
he's banging the Baron's wife because,
Oh, come on. If you saw somebody without eyebrows in an incestuous relationship, wouldn't you bang her?
yeah, that would be my first thought, I guess. You're right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
But on top of that, doesn't she kind of grow bored with him?
Yeah. Yeah.
She wants to have the servant, aka the creature, pleasure her. And the only reason why Victor agrees with this is because the creature does not respond to his female subject.
Not at all.
And I think that's kind of important in terms of the subtext of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
there's a lot of weird sex stuff in this. There's a lot of
there's a lot of weird sex stuff, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff going on underneath the main dialogue here. There's got to be.
You think there's a little gay subtext there? Do you think it's...
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, which I'm cool with. But to me, it just kind of makes the story a little bit more interesting, though I'm not sure if it's intentional.
I could see that. So basically, the female Frankenstein, she was some model or something, but she's just striking, and the dude has no interest whatsoever.
She's down to clown. He doesn't want anything to do with her.
Yeah, and when a girl is down to clown, you'd be a fool not to, right?
Especially a striking blonde Serbian lady such as this.
Yeah, certainly.
But no, the creature wants no part of it. So Frankenstein says, "Away with you! I will let my sister wife have you."
Yeah.
Problem is, he doesn't want anything to do with her. But she demands that she change to conform to what she wants, and he kills her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the subtext is pretty obvious in this.
I almost viewed that as like he was just a clumsy sort of, I don't know. He didn't know what he was doing, I guess. I could be wrong.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of took the impression that this guy didn't want anything to do with the activities at the brothel. He was willing to go into the priesthood and remain celibate. When presented with female companionship, he repeatedly denied it. I kind of thought maybe the guy's gay, but here he is being forced to procreate with women that he wants nothing to do with, and he rebels.
Yeah.
That was what I took from it.
Yeah. It all ends with him killing his master. The female has been killed by Otto, who fucks her to death in the gallbladder.
Literally.
Which
and again, in the least sexy way possible.
It's so gross. Like, it's just, yeah.
I don't need to see some weird little German dude licking a suture wound. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Yeah, somebody had some issues. Paul Morrissey,
Yes.
who wrote and directed this, come on now. Apparently, too, I don't know if you know this or read this. He probably did, but a lot of
script.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogue was improv, except for Udo Kier, who couldn't improv that well due to a grasp of the language. So
Go figure.
yeah, they had to write his lines at the beginning of every day, which is charming and
Somehow
hilarious.
Actually makes it better.
Yeah, I think so. So there's this whole chase scene between the Frankenstein and the Baron, and this made me laugh so hard. Like, at one point, the creature slams the Baron's hand in the gate, and his hand gets chopped off, and he tries to reassemble the hand. He tries to reattach the hand onto his arm.
Anybody could do it. Victor Frankenstein could
And
do
then he
it.
gets pissed off, and he just kind of throws it. He's like, yeah. He just throws it at the farm boy. It's funny.
It is.
Also, did you know this was originally filmed in 3D?
Yes.
The Vinegar Syndrome version that they released also includes the 3D version, which I think would be amazing.
It's on not Voodoo, but Shudder. But I don't have any blue and red glasses to watch it.
Oh, wait, the 3D version is?
It absolutely is. Yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This would be kind of amazing in 3D.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have any glasses either, but I didn't know that.
Because you could tell that a lot of the shots were staged for it, where they're literally holding entrails out at the camera.
Right, yeah.
And real quick, before we go too much further, I mean, I know we're already going all over the place with this, but I loved the set design in this movie.
Okay, yeah.
It looked like a Hammer horror movie.
Oh, it really did, yeah. It had that going for it.
And the makeup effects, especially for a low-budget early 70s movie, still stand up. I thought that a couple of the scenes, particularly the death of the creature where he literally rips his sutures open and the entrails just kind of slide out.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. The random experiment that Victor Frankenstein had, where there was a working set of lungs and a heart just kind of sitting there.
Yeah,
it's weird, but it's cool in context of the story.
Yeah,
and I have to admit, I walked into this movie expecting to just hate it, but I kind of dug it.
Yeah, and it has one of those endings too, where spoilers, the monster kills himself because he realizes he's not fit to exist on this earth, and by disemboweling himself, he tears his own something with entrails in this movie. My God, he didn't think before he did that to let his buddy down, who's hanging by his arms from the ceiling. I was like, well, how the hell is he going to get down from there? Well, this whole time, the Baron and his sister's kids are lurking about the castle. They know what's going on. They've seen their dad doing these weird things. And
I mean, they've already got their heads fucked up realizing that they're each other's cousins and siblings.
So basically the final scene is one of them grabs a scalpel and the other one starts turning the wheel of the that's holding Joe Dallesandro up. Not sure if they're lowering him or raising him up or what they're going to do.
It's not going to be good for little Joe.
I don't think it is either. Yeah, I don't either. And boy, I was expecting a trash heap too. And when I first started watching this, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what did you do to me? But it's kind of charming. I had a good time with it.
It really is. It's entertaining as hell if you go into it with the right frame of mind.
Yeah, it's not going to be for everyone.
It's campy. It's over the top. It's funny. It's not scary. It sure as hell is not sexy.
No.
But it's fun.
No, it's kind of the perfect movie for this podcast. It's full of WTF moments and like ridiculousness. And is this really happening right now?
Well, still, I gotta hit the point again of the subtext, because I kind of got the impression that they're talking about the upper class looking at the other 99% of the people as just livestock.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a cycle that continuously will go on throughout human existence because of that last scene.
Yeah.
The kids are finishing the work of, the Baron and his sister wife.
Yeah. I mean,
it's trashy, but it has a couple of really weird messages.
When I was doing this, when I was reading about this movie and researching, I saw this Warhol quote. I thought it was really good. He said, before I was shot, I always thought it was, oh God, I messed that up. Before I was shot, I always thought I was more half there than all there. I always suspected that I was watching TV instead of living life. people sometimes say that the way things happen in movies is unreal, but actually it's the way things happen in life that's unreal. The movies make emotions look so strong and real, whereas when things really do happen to you, it's like watching television. You don't feel anything. Right when I was being shot, and ever since, I knew that I was watching television. The channels switch, but it's all television.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah. Okay, dude.
Now, I actually found a quote from Lou Reed.
Okay.
You're familiar with who that guy was, right?
Yeah.
He wrote this little song called A Walk on the Wild Side. And turns out that one of the subjects of that song was Joe Dallesandro. Did I pronounce his name right?
Yeah, Joe Dallesandro. Yep.
Yes. That was Little Joe, the hustler, in that song. And it turns out those two hated each other. Because Little Joe played the lead role in 3 of Paul Morrissey's earlier movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Lou Reed had never met the guy, but he wrote the passage in that song based on one of his characters where he played a hustler.
Yeah. Huh, interesting.
After it became a worldwide kind of a classic song, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
The two of them sat down, and Lou Reed walked away after 10 seconds because he said you could tell right in that small time that Little Joe had the IQ of about 12. Which, if you know anything about Lou Reed, is a very Lou Reed thing to say.
Oh, that's hilarious. And it's sad to say it comes through in his performances in these movies.
It does. He is not an actor.
It's not good.
He might be a good model, but he is not an actor.
Yeah, it's not good. It would be like getting Fabio to be the lead in a movie and expecting him to carry the films.
Well, I mean, as bad as he is in Flesh for Frankenstein, I would say he's even worse in Blood for Dracula.
I would agree with that. Blood for Dracula was filmed almost like back to back.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, because they wrapped production on Flesh for Frankenstein half a day early. And they went right into Blood for Dracula. Because when Paul Morrissey was meeting with the financier, first question out of the money man's mouth was, how much money do you want to make? To make this movie? And he's like, I don't know. All of Andy's movies were really dirt cheap. These are going to be free feature films. What do you say, $300,000 for the first one?
Yeah.
In 1972 money.
Right.
And the producer is like, fuck you. I can make 2 movies for that money. And so that's exactly what they did. They wrapped on Flesh for Frankenstein and literally the same day went into Blood for Dracula.
I mean,
no script.
Yeah, that's being prolific right there.
It's making chicken salad out of chicken shit. I'll give them that. But you could really tell in the script for that second movie, they were running out of steam, in my opinion.
Yeah, second movie doesn't hold up as well.
Nowhere near as entertaining.
However, I think it's a little bit funnier in certain parts. I think this is meant to be less of a comedy than Flesh for Frankenstein, but this is unintentionally hilarious.
I don't know if it's hilarious as much as I'm screaming "what the fuck" at what is supposed to be the hero of this movie.
Well, yeah, that's a huge problem. So, yeah, that's a monstrous problem. So this stars Udo Kier as Count Dracula this time instead of Baron von Frankenstein. And
you know what? I would actually say that might be the better performance between the two movies for Udo.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. In this movie, he's traveling from Transylvania to Italy, and he has to drink virgin blood in order to survive.
It's okay. The vampire mythos are all open to interpretation. I can buy that. Sure.
Most of Dracula's family has died because there's no virgins left in their hometown, really.
Now, I wasn't sure what that meant. Did that mean that everybody in Transylvania is like super horny, or Dracula is just that prolific.
That's kind of what I took it as. Like everyone's just boning down.
That's what I was thinking too.
It's like when we covered Cherry Falls, right? You hear there's a serial killer targeting virgins, just have an orgy, get it over with. Now what?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So he's traveling to Italy under the guise of trying to find a mate, a spouse to share in wealth and life in, but really he just wants to drink virgin blood.
Which to me doesn't make much sense. Why wouldn't... I can't remember. I'm just going to call him Renfield. Why wouldn't Renfield just go down and kidnap some virgin, take them back to Transylvania?
Because
Wouldn't that be easier?
Then we'd have no plot to this movie, sir.
Okay, but still, you've got a feeble Count Dracula who can barely stand. He's writhing on a bed. Why trek him all the way across Central Europe down to the Italian peninsula?
Right. Somewhere along the way, this Count Dracula had befriended this woman who has a lot of land, a huge estate that's falling into decline, and she kind of wants to marry off her daughters to someone wealthy to, one, kind of take care of shit, and two, I don't know, I feel like she sort of wants happiness for her daughters.
I didn't get that impression at all, as much as she wanted the influx of cash from the potential count.
You're right, it was a cash grab.
Yeah.
The problem here is that good old Joe Dallesandro is a handyman on the estate, and he's boning down two of the daughters at least.
If you were on the cover of Sticky Fingers, you would too.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And you're right. In this movie, Udo Kier's performances, so when he is like fiending for blood, he goes into convulsions and shakes, and this is a drug metaphor, is it not?
I kind of got that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I kept wishing the editor would have cut.
Yeah, it goes on for way too long.
In several scenes.
The unintentional funny part for me is that, of course, Dracula bites the necks of two of the non-virgins, and every time he does, he just has a horrible reaction and throws up afterwards. He throws up blood.
Non-stop for like 10 minutes straight.
And it's so over the top. It just made me laugh every time, even though it probably wasn't supposed to. Boy, did I find that funny.
Right when you think it's done,
he just keeps going.
Old Faithful comes back.
He just keeps going.
And I don't know why, but the fact that it was crimson red the entire time just sold the fuck out of it.
Yes, I mean, and a lot of it is Udo Kier's performance.
Yes. Especially after the second sister, when he's realizing that these aren't the virgins he was hoping for.
Right.
He had one of the most, I don't want to say memorable lines because it's not politically correct, but God damn it, it was funny when he just said, "These whose blood is killing me."
Yep. It's funny because in this movie, he is so like rail thin and sickly looking.
I got to give this movie credit. It was a unique interpretation of Dracula. I've never seen Dracula as a pathetic character until this movie.
Yes. And the funny thing is, as I was watching this, I envisioned Paul Rubens as Pee Wee Herman playing a vampire. And then that's all I wanted was Pee Wee Herman to
It's not that far off.
Yes, I mean,
all you have to have is a Russian accent and you're there.
Yeah. I also laughed at one point, the Count Dracula is in a wheelchair because he's so weak he can't walk. And the camera is attached to the wheelchair, and we get a kind of, it's focused on him, and it's a straight shot, and it's kind of found footage or GoPro-esque as he's wheeling around, And it reminded me of Danny Torrance and the tricycle in The Shining.
Yeah.
And I laughed so hard. I'm like, Stanley Kubrick was influenced by this scene.
Oh my God. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
And you know who else had to have been influenced by this movie?
I have no idea.
The dudes who, and I'm assuming the dudes and dudettes who made Rocky Horror.
Oh, I could see that.
No way you can tell me that those people did not see these movies.
I could see that. There's also another movie I think was influenced by this one. I'll get to that. So there's really no virgins to be found except a 14-year-old.
And this entire time I'm thinking, don't do it, movie. Don't do it.
And it does it.
Yes, because at one point, Joe Dallesandro, after he forces himself onto one of the sisters, who then decides that she likes it,
yeah,
is having pillow talk where he's talking to her about her 14-year-old sister, and he says, and I quote, "I'd sure like to rape the hell out of her."
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, there's no way they're going to go there. No, they're not going to do that. And they do it.
Yeah.
And then they try to morally justify rape.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So despite having all the personality and charm of a doorknob, he somehow has the smarts in his head to know that Count Dracula is actually a vampire, and the only way to
and again, he reacts matter-of-factly to it.
Well, he's a vampire, obviously. Oh, he's after virgins.
The way you and I would react to a field mouse in our house.
Yeah. Oh, I got a hornet's nest, huh? Jeez, gotta get some spray. So he tells the 14-year-old this, and he's basically like, you should lose that virginity of yours. And she's like, I don't. And then he rapes her.
And then the thing is that they linger on the shot, which is gross enough.
But then it gets worse.
They have a pool of blood where it's implied her hymen's broken.
Yes.
And then Dracula laps it up.
Yes.
It's like, oh, come, I know
So
you're trying
bad.
to push my buttons, but you're doing too good of a job, you 50-year-old movie.
Which, by the way, this whole plot is the plot of Jim Carrey's first starring role, Once Bitten, in which he is a virgin and some sexy vampire is trying to steal his blood because he's like the last virgin male on Earth.
Which is funny because wasn't Udo Kier in one of those Ace Ventura movies?
Oh, I think he was. That's funny. I think he was.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, the whole plot ends when he finally basically gets. He doesn't necessarily get raped, but he loses his virginity in a coffin, and there's nothing they can do. Plot's over, and yeah.
Well, we forgot to talk about the oldest sister, the spinster, who was morally conservative. The older sisters are out walking in working in a field, and why not? Let's take all of our clothes off because we're in an Andy Warhol movie. Mm-hmm. She's the only one who doesn't. She is dressed and presented as being kind of fugly compared to the other sisters.
Right.
Turns out she fell for Dracula. She let him bite him. He got rejuvenated. And then right after that, big swinging Joe comes in with an axe.
Yes, it proceeds to lob off all of his limbs.
Which, again, I can't help but wonder if Monty Python didn't see this movie and say, hey, there's a good idea for a gag.
Yeah, at one point, Dracula's running around with our arms looking like the most ridiculous thing until one of his legs gets lobbed off.
And he's hopping.
Yeah.
Gets rid of his other leg, and then he decides to stake him. And I've got to admit, kind of badass where the older sister, who is now his wife, comes out, sees the state he's in, can't go on with life, and throws herself on the stake.
Yep. And then we have a happy ending with the world's worst human being having beaten the vampire and gotten the 14-year-old girl. Yay?
Yeah, I hate to throw out this word, but this movie is problematic.
It is problematic, yes. Yeah.
And I know it's because I'm looking at it through 2022 lenses, and I know it's a movie that is supposed to shock and outrage and offend, but fuck.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
I don't want to watch a movie where the hero is a rapist.
Yeah.
A serial rapist, an unrepentant monster.
Yeah. Well,
I know that they're talking about the decadence of the aristocracy with the father losing the family fortune through the stock market and gambling and all that. I know that they're trying to make a point, but goddamn, that plot point with, little Joe really does stick out.
Yeah, it sure does. What?
And it kind of ruined the movie for me.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook. It really is. Like I said, this one's a lot more ridiculous and I think laugh out loud, unintentionally so, but also, like you said, it's
more
very
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very problematic. The wacky weird sex is replaced by gross real life problematic sex stuff and
projectile vomiting.
Yeah, it doesn't work as well.
No.
For what it's worth, both of these movies were both released on the Criterion Collection, so
which, okay, I can't be that far off in saying that there's some kind of merit to these movies.
I would agree. Yeah.
They're worth the time if you have a certain frame of mind.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But if you're like really ultra conservative, ultra evangelical, just don't bother renewing your Shudder subscription. It'll be ruined for you.
Yep, 3 tall beers on a Saturday night. That's my recommendation.
Yes. You know what? I think with enough beer and enough right friends, anybody can have a good time with at least Flesh for Frankenstein. If you're willing to talk about it and not think too much about it, maybe Blood for Dracula. But I had a good time with these movies.
I did too. I was pleasantly surprised. So
they were fun.
Yeah, they were fun. They were a lot more fun than I expected. That's for sure. I expected a long, hard slog.
I was expecting nothing but trash because my only frame of reference for these movies was when I was a little kid, like maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 1981, we had a precursor to cable television called Select TV.
Oh my God, what is this mysticism?
Exactly. And my parents loved it because finally they could watch movies uncut without commercials at home. And we were sitting down and all of a sudden Flesh for Frankenstein came on and my mother hit the goddamn roof. And that's all I knew about these movies. So I was expecting trash and I got it.
I like it.
Mom would be proud.
I bet.
I was offended.
That's what all this was, to get back at Mom. I appreciate it.
Isn't that what it's all about?
Yes, it is, actually. Yes, it is.
So, definitely a good time.
Tell people where they can find you on that World Wide Web, Mr. Tomko.
If you're on the Twitter and you happen to catch me while I'm on there, you can find me at The Drunken Dork. Or if you're on Facebook, you can hit me up at a near-defunct little page called Jake and Tom Conquer the Group because I kind of taken a step back from podcasting.
Yeah, well, you do this one.
I do.
You do.
But you know what? I don't got to edit this shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank God.
Thank God. I actually don't edit much of this either. Ha ha.
What about you, sir? Where can they find you at?
We're masters of the craft. Edit. Pish posh. They can find me. The best place would be on twitter.com. At Retail Slave would be the handle, or a big dumb comedy show called Mr. Retail Slave. We just celebrated our 300th episode. God damn. That's a lot of hours of me talking about nonsense.
You ever do the math and figure out how much time you spent talking to Tommy and just start crying?
Oh man, it hurts my head to even think about. It hurts my head.
That's time you're never getting back.
Just think of how many hours of my voice are just bubbling around like refuse in the oceans on the internet, in this internet of ours. I mean, God, so many hours.
You're worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide, they call me. Sorry, Pitbull. Well,
so what's next on the docket, sir?
Well, we watched a pair of films with loads of nudity, and now we're going to watch more cocks. Alex Cox, that is. We're watching a movie at Tomco's recommendation called Sid and Nancy. Will it be a wreck as in recommendation or a wreck as in a goddamn car wreck? Who can tell? Who knows? Tune in next time and find out.
Looking forward to it.
All right. We'll see you next time on someone's favorite movie. Bye-bye.
See ya.